Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Evermore YouTube channel. It's Monday night. I'm back asking you the same question that me and Mark normally ask you every Monday night. You'll notice I'm flying solo again tonight. Mark unfortunately can't make it, but I'm still going to ask you what's going on. I'll tell you what's going on. It is now the 12th of August. My laptop watch is quick, so I'm going to check my actual watch. It's the 12th of August. We play Southampton at the weekend. It's just after 9:30, and we still haven't fucking signed anybody. So there we go. I've swore early on this episode, give you a little flavour as to what I'm going to talk about. Apparently, there is moves happening. I'm going to talk about that in a minute, as well as loads of other Newcastle United banter. We are live tonight. Jump in the comments, as always, guys. As I mentioned at the start, as we always do, if you haven't already, smash subscribe, come and join us. We're really close to 8,400 subs now, so climbing up. I've got a belter of a prize for 9,000k. We missed the 8k window, but listen, I've got some unreal prizes for 9k and 10k. So if you're a new subscriber, whack that subscription in. When we hit those milestones, you can enter the competitions, because these two prizes are chef's kiss. I'm telling you right now. As I mentioned, we are live tonight. We've got a few of you already in the chat, as we can see. Some of you in early doors. 20-7 tie. Well, good man. I'll tell you what was going on then. I was not doing the show, mate. I think I was having me tea at that particular point. Roger the Dodger is in. Good to see you in the chat, Roger. We've got Duncan is in there as well. Good to see you, Duncan, and good to see everybody in the chat as well. Sean is also in the chat as well. Hello, you proper Toon fans. Absolutely proper Toon fans here. But fans of other teams are welcome as well. Just don't be a prick, but you'll get the flick, as I always say. Stu Mag is in the house as well. Good to see you, Stu Mag, as is Stevie B, as is Jimmy. Ian is also in the house. Terrific lad. Flying solo again, Chris. You can't get the staff. Now, to be fair, he does put in the hours, does old Mark. He's taking some time because he needs some time. So give Mark some love in the comments, lads, as well. Lads and lasses, why not? Everybody give Mark some love. And Marky is thumbs up too. So let's get stuck in then. There's only one place to start. Newcastle have already won silverware. We haven't even started the season yet. Yes, we have won that unbelievable competition that is the Sela Cup once again, even though it's done by the sponsors of us, and pretty much most of the teams we play against aren't particularly good. But Newcastle United had 2 games over the weekend, and before I get into the games, it must be said the behaviour in the city centre was exemplary. No bother, no hassle, no damage, no arseholes. Maybe a small pocket of arseholes, but they were so insignificant that nothing really made the press. So well done to everyone in the city and the city of Newcastle in general. Well done, everybody involved. But there was 2 football games on. Friday night went off without a hitch. There was 2 very, very different lineups that played in these games. So Friday night we battered Girona 4-0. Sean Longstaff turning into prime Frank Lampard, I jest, of course. Very interesting that Sandro Tonali is nearly on the way back, and all of a sudden Longstaff has discovered his shooting boots again. But the team that started on the Friday night, if you didn't know already, we had Nick Pope in goal, Tino Livramento, Emil Kraft, Dan Burn, Lewis Hall in midfield. Jamie Miley, who still looks really good in midfield, very comfortable on the ball, does Jamie. What on earth are those parents feeding those kids? My word, give me a bowl of that shit in hell. Longstaff, obviously 2 goals for him. Jacob Murphy, again, his pre-season magic continued. Joe Litton, who was absolutely phenomenal in that game. Anthony Gordon got on the score sheet, and Alexander Isak led the attack. And yeah, it was pretty much 4-0. By the time we were 40 minutes into the game. So we absolutely hosed Girona, really. And some of the football was immense in that game, it must be said. Really free-flowing, high press and stuff. Nice transitions with the ball. Joe Litton was just back at his beast best. He was just flying in, knocking the ball off people. He was charging up the pitch. He looked fit. He looked strong. He looked quick. Longstaff got in some good positions as well. Murphy looked really good. Gordon didn't look rusty at all in pre-season. Alexander Isak, some of the skill in that game. Oh, my word. In the one for Murphy's goal where he just takes the living piss in the corner, skinning people. Did win a pen and missed a pen, to be fair, but he just looked electric, and he's looked really good pre-season, has Isak. I'm really glad that Sweden weren't involved in the competition then in the summer, because he looks sharper, he looks fitter. If Alexander Isak starts a season like that, centre halves, be aware there'll be many more members of the I Got Skinned by Alexander Isak club going on. I tell you what, unbelievable. Some more comments there. We've got a comment from Kev. Good afternoon from Florida. Absolutely, Kev. Thank you very much for tuning in all the way across the pond. Miggy Almirón may be coming to join you soon then. More of that in the transfer talk. Richie T. Hi, everyone. Just got back from a lovely weekend in Keswick. I love a bit of Keswick, Richie. Good stuff. Hope the weather was good for you, mate. Keswick and the lakes is lovely when it's like that, to be fair. But yeah, so the 2 different lineups really in the games involved. So we won both games. and that resulted as winning the Sela Cup, as you can see here. Lovely picture with Trips and Bruno hoisting the trophy aloft. And Harrison Ashby looks really impressed, to be fair, unless Bruno's got some great aftershave then. He looks particularly impressed with that, does young Harrison Ashby. But yeah, we won that competition. The second game, we only won 1-0 against Brest. Lovely goal, it must be said, by Harvey Barnes. I'll get into the lineups for that game just to give you a little bit of context in terms of how we lined up in that particular game. I'll just get to that now. So the lineup for that one was Martin Dubravka started in goal. Pulled off some decent saves, actually, as well. Very much for the cameras type saves. But Kieran Trippier was back as well. He was all right. Used the ball quite well. Fabian Schär did go down injured, which is a concern. Really need to sort this Mark Gahey deal out, which we'll get into in transfer talk. Lloyd Kelly looked quite good, pinging the ball around really well. Jamal Lewis didn't really do anything particularly wrong or right, really. Just had a steady away game. Young Harrison, Alfie Harrison in midfield was all right. Again, didn't really catch the eye. Bruno, some lovely bit to play. 360 Cruyff turn, Maradona turn in the box under pressure was just prime Bruno, really, wasn't it? Miggy Almirón played maybe his last game for Newcastle. Joe Willock in midfield looked quite busy. Harvey Barnes, again, took his goal really well, tucked inside. That boy can finish, my word. He's a great finisher. We'll keep him fit. I think that's 10 to 15 goals a season there. We'll get into the squad in a minute when we'll talk about the season starting. And Usala played up front as well, the recent signing. Did score quite a good goal, actually. Got ruled off for offside. Lovely bit of movement, nice bit of running, peeled off, finished it really well, but he was offside. Touched the ball a few times, got involved, given the fact he's playing at a much higher level with better players. He looked like he was kind of making some good runs, and he is a young player and he is raw. So, perhaps I know I was very underwhelmed when we signed him, but perhaps, being around these players a bit more, training these players a bit more, he might get himself, a few goals coming off the bench type of thing. Graham seems to think he reminds me a lot of Andy Cole. Give the kid time. I mean, fucking hell, Graham, if he does anything Andy Cole did, even half what Andy Cole did, Jesus. I thought he would be fantastic. I knew there would be a tick comment in here. Ian has gone early doors. Who doesn't love Brest? Well, I tell you what, I'm going to give a massive shout out to the Brest. And I'm talking about the fans, Ian, before you get a little bit naughty in the comments. If you didn't see already, Brest bought about 30 fans. This is them there. Not looking particularly pleased when they were 1-0 down. But I tell you something, that's dedication right there. Coming all the way to Newcastle in the midst of UK streets getting smashed up and everything else. Sadly, not too unknown to France in recent times. But I'll tell you what, massive credit to them. I really hope that a good bit crack with some Geordies in the city centre. And that is dedication, to be fair. So well done to the travelling Brest, I've got to be said. Absolutely brilliant. But yeah, they didn't get the win, unfortunately. But yeah, so Newcastle looked quite good pre-season, it must be said. We got a lot of wins. I think we only lost one game, didn't we, over in Japan? And generally, I think, some of the plays been good. Murphy's looked quite tidy. Again, I don't think he's answered to the right winger. I'll get into that in a second. But he's looked good in pre-season. Isaac looks sharp. Barnes scoring goals, looking good. Joe Linton's looking good again. Bruno looks like he's come back. He's not too rusty. Same with Gordon as well. Lewis Hall's looked really good in pre-season. Again, he's continued that good form on from the back of last season. If I see Dan Burn at left back and Southampton, I will lose my fucking mind with Eddie Howe if I see that. But I really hope that I don't, because Lewis Hall looks really, really good there. He could step up into midfield as well. So I think that's a really good player in the squad there. And I think he's going to have a massive season for us. I think he's actually going to be one of my players to watch for next season, Lewis Hall. I just think he's going to really kick into gear and not just be Newcastle's number one left back, but England's number one left back as well, because there's only so long you can ignore that kid if he keeps playing the way he is. Tino's been a little bit up and down on the other side. He showed that pace that he's got. He showed that willingness. But I think he's still got a lot to learn in the right back position. Now, Kieran Trippier is an interesting one, because I still don't think he's going to be here, but I would keep Kieran Trippier. If he is going to stay, I'd keep him for another season. But if they can sell him and cash in and get the money and help balance the PSR and everything else, because, we're Newcastle United, not Manchester United, even though the mainstream media aren't reporting about how shockingly biased the favouritism is against them by the Premier League. But if Trippier stays, Trippier stays. Do you know what I mean? And I just think he is a good player still. His legs aren't quite there. I think Howe would have to use him sparingly in the season coming. I wouldn't want to see him getting absolutely rinsed by speedy wingers. Same with Dan Burn as well. But he could be part of a squad. But yeah, I think Tino is going to be the number one right back in my opinion. But he could, if Trippier stays, there could be a bit of squad rotation between them two. But Lewis Hall, to me, has to be in that left back position unless he does something stupid to lose his place. Comment there from Richie. I was just going to get into this, Richie, as well. Yeah, Travan Sanasu looks absolutely electric, doesn't he? He's been a real highlight in this preseason. Just raw pace, skill, a bit of the Maxis about him in terms of not scared to try something. Screaming for the ball off Alexander. He's acting 1-2s and stuff like that. 17 years old. Louis Miley was the breakthrough player in the preseason last season, and he come into the league and he looked really, really comfortable and good. And he didn't just contribute. Louis Miley, he got assists, he got goals. And he was winning the ball off top midfielders that he was 7, 8, 9, 10 year younger than. And I think if Travan Sansu can do exactly the same, I mean, we could have a real asset there on the bench. We don't have somebody dynamic to come and run at people off the bench. Now with Sela is there, he can give you that as an option. Obviously, you got Sanasu as well. Again, going back with Sela, I'm not doubling down. I was still underwhelmed by the sign. I still would have liked to play with a better goal return. Like the young lad from Dortmund who looks like he's going over to Marseille. A player like that potentially, but hey, it is what it is. So I'll back the lad because he's a Newcastle player now, so I'll back him. But yeah, if Sanasu is going to play for the under-21s, and then maybe he presses in training, and Eddie could maybe use him as a bit of a secret weapon. He won't take up a squad place either because of his age. So if you're like him and Louis Miley there, they don't take up squad spaces, and they can really give you something in the squad. So yeah, I was really, really impressed with him as well. Just looking for your comments there. Yeah, Len saying fingers crossed for Gahey. I really hope that does happen as well. Martin doesn't think Lewis Hall starts. I really hope you're wrong, Martin, because I don't think he's done anything to prove that he shouldn't start. And I'm looking at the rest of those players. Lloyd Kelly's not a left back, so I think you'd be shoehorning another player out of position. Dan Burns got no legs. He's like Lieutenant Dan out of Forrest Gump. Decent at centre half, shit at left back. Should never play in there. Target's knackered. And Jamal Lewis is, nobody knows if he's good or not. So Lewis Hall's got to be the number one left back for me, mate. He has to, as Ty says as well. He needs to start. He needs to keep that place. And I really hope I don't see Lloyd Kelly in the left back as well, to be honest with you. So, yeah, we'll have to just wait and see what transpires from that one. But, outside of the unfortunate injuries to obviously Louis Miley and obviously Wilson with another injury, outside of that, squad-wise, in terms of the results, we're looking all right pre-season. The transfer window has not been particularly great going into the season, which I'm going to get into right now. So season ready, our Newcastle United season ready. So this is a funny one. We're going to do a separate video on this completely, but I might as well just wrap it into the video tonight. So what's my concerns going into the season? I think Newcastle have left their activity late. I've got theories on that. I think the upheaval upstairs, I think, caused that. I said that in my, kind of better late than never video that we did the other day. I think the upheaval upstairs has caused a delay. I think the Ashworth saga has caused a delay. And I don't think we went for the targets maybe as quick as we should have done. Other clubs have tied up their targets quite quickly. We're now in the last, few days before the league starts. We haven't had time to sign players and bed them in. But with that being said, there is some positive movement tonight in terms of Gahey and, maybe a replacement for Miggy Almirón. Looks like he may be out the door, which I'll get into in a minute with transfer talk. But, we needed 3 key signings, possibly 4, arguably. We needed a right-sided centre-half. If Gahey comes in, there's the man. We needed a right winger. That's still up in the air at the minute. We needed another striker. Now, we've decided to go for a championship striker because we're not getting rid of Callum Wilson, mainly because nobody wants him because he's injured again. Now, when Wilson's fit, does he score goals? Yes, he does. He's a good player, but he's 32 years old and he's injury prone. Nobody wanted him. When he got his back injury, I think people like West Ham were sniffing around before they signed Fulkrig, who's only 31 as well, to be fair. He's not a million miles away from Wilson. And I think that was their number 2 option away from Wilson. As soon as you heard he was injured again, they were like, right, okay, let's go to another option, which was Fulkrig from Dortmund, who I do think is going to get goals for West Ham. I really do. They look like a good team. West Ham, they've signed very, very well. And I think, the likes of him and Somerville and, Kilman at the back as well. And Tadibo is a great signing for them. So I think they've signed really, really well as West Ham, and they could really be challenging us, for those kind of top 6 to top 4 positions if they really want to go for it. I think the only thing that'll, unstick West Ham, I think, is maybe the squad depth, a bit like us. If you get key injuries to someone like Jared Bowen or something like that, then they could be in real trouble. But and if Fulkrig doesn't quite hit the ground running. That's where they needed a number 9. He is 31-year-old, so you never know how he's going to take to the league. But going back to Newcastle, because we are a Newcastle United show after all. So we needed a right side of centre back, we needed a centre forward, and we needed a right winger. Now, the right winger had to be top quality, in my opinion, had to be better than what we have. And that's my concern, is Eddie Howe, going to put faith in the likes of Miggy and Murphy. Now, it doesn't look like Miggy is going to be here now after this talk tonight about going back to the MLS. And that just tells you the level that Miggy's at. Nobody else is sniffing around him except for the MLS, where he still carries this affectionate view of him as a player because he did so well at Atlanta with, Darren Eales was running the show there. So that tells you where Miggy is as a player. Everybody knows he had a payable patch in Newcastle. Everybody knows he runs all day, but he's got no end product. That's why no European clubs are after him at all, And I just think, for me, that's why Miggy Almirón hasn't had any kind of sniffs around of top European clubs interested in him, or even half decent European clubs interested in him. So we'll get into Miggy in a minute. But going back to the squad itself, when everybody's fit, and I've got this little image here just to illustrate what I'm talking about. So when everybody's fit, I'm assuming that Mark Gahey signs. Now, let's just say there is no right winger that signs, right? Because that's still up in the air at the minute. I think this is a bit of a last minute dash to get a right winger in. It could be a good right winger. We'll get into that in a second. But if everybody's fit, this is the kind of lineup you'd expect, to have representing Newcastle when everybody's fit. And it's not a bad lineup. You've got Nick Pope, Tino Livramento, Mark Gahey, Sven Botman, Lewis Hall, Sandro Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes, and Joe Linton. Now, if they're all fit and firing, that's one of the best midfields in the league, hands down. I'm not just saying that because I've got black and white blinkers on. That is factual. And then the front three, I've moved Gordon over to the right, Isak through the middle, and Barnes to the left. And that's provided we don't sign a right winger, and that's everybody being fit. Now, that team is good at the back. That team is brilliant at midfield, creativity, goals, steal, ability to track back, quality in the ball, aggression. And then in the front three, you've got pace, you've got movement, you've got guile, you've got goals. So when everybody's fit, that is a good Newcastle United side. But no one's ever going to be fit all of the time, and we saw that last season. Now, this is putting a huge amount of pressure on the likes of Bunce, who's come in to obviously, improve the fitness and the conditioning of the players. Now, listen, it could be an absolute masterstroke. If Bunce comes in and he gets them lads there fit enough to play more or less every single week, then I think, as Marcus is saying there, that's a Champions League team. And it really, really is. I think if those lads can stay fit the majority of the time, then there's no reason why we shouldn't finish top 4, which should be the key goal for Newcastle United. That should be where they want to aim for. None of this top 5, top 6 stuff. In the top 5, maybe if someone like City wins the Champions League or something like that, maybe, but we should be looking to finish in the top 4, because we need to go back to the Champions League. We need Champions League football to keep this project appealing to big players, to not just big players to come into the side, but the likes of Alexander Isak, Bruno Guimaraes, Anthony Gordon, Sven Botman, Sandro Tonali, the 5 players there you're probably going to build this team around. You need to have Champions League football going forward. They aren't going to hang around here for no European football. Now, we were really unlucky last season that we didn't get European football, even though we finished 7th, because of Manchester United's complete fluky win against City, who were on the piss really for 4 days in the lead up to that game. But that for me was really unfortunate. But it almost gives Newcastle, weird enough, an advantage this season, because we don't have European football to stretch our squad, to burn out our key players. So we should be able to manage this season a lot better without Champions League there, with a threadbare squad like last season where everyone was burnt out. So really, Newcastle United should be able to play at the intensity levels that Eddie Howe wants them to play at, get the results, and finish in, hopefully, the top 4 position, even if we didn't sign anybody other than Mark Gahey. Now, I really hope that isn't the case. But looking at that team there, as I pointed out, that is a fucking good side, even if we don't sign a right winger. But Ian's right there. The no dickhead policy will be out the window with Madueke. We'll get into that in a minute, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, there is some talk about players coming in. I've got some concerns about Madueke, which I'll come on to in a minute. Richie's saying, did I see the Premier League supercomputer predictions got Toon 5th? That's the minimum I would hope for, with better squad depth in 1 game a week. Yeah, I mean, fifth is all right. Providing that I think somebody, wins the Champions League from the Premier League, then we'll get fifth, might be Champions League, So, but I think Champions League has to be on the cards, Richie. We have to aim for that. We really, really do. Niall saying we lose a lot putting Gordon on the right. I get that, Niall, but I'd rather have Gordon on the right than Jacob Murphy or Miggy Almirón. That would be my decision on that one. If you need to get Barnes in the team for his goals, then you have Barnes on the left-hand side. Now, it's a weird one with Barnes because he's so good in front of goal. I'd almost like him to become an attacking number 8, where he can arrive in the box, Frank Lampard style. He'd probably score 20 goals a season, but he's not that type of player. He drifts out wide too much, and I don't think you can reprogram that player. Conrad saying that Murphy starts ahead of Barnes. Gordon is better on the left. See, I think Murphy does work hard. I'll give you that. But Barnes gets you goals. But I think the problem is with Barnes as well, Conrad, and I can understand what you're saying, is because Barnes can give you that impact from the bench in terms of goals. That's maybe going to go against Barnes. That's not what he wants to do. Barnes wants to be a starter, and if he keeps playing and keeps scoring, he will want to be a starter. And he's absolutely right to want to be a starter if he's banging in the goals. But Clonland thinks that Barnes has been unconvincing when starting. Yeah, and Murphy's on form. I think for what it's worth, and we will do the preview in the next few days, I think that Howe will start with Murphy, even if we do sign a right winger. I think Murphy will start that game because he is in good form, as you rightly say, and he likes Murphy, and Murphy does work hard. So I think he will do that. Uncle Common FML Capo, playtime is over. We're a few days away from being back to business, and we're looking good. Hopefully, Gahey comes since James is part of this window. Still wide open. Keep the faith, lads. We have quality. There's no doubt about that, El Capo. Once they're fit, they do have quality. There ain't no doubt about that whatsoever. Magda Bates is saying he thinks Alanga would have been a crack in the signing. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. We'll get into transfers in a second. Terrific lad saying the full high intensity will return for one game a week. I'm 100% sure it will. And that's where we look to be at our best, when we're just pressing the life out of teams. Think of Spurs, when battered them 6 or battered them 4, we just couldn't breathe for us. We suffocated them. And that's exactly what we need as well. Ian's saying we need some forward-thinking passing. Will Aquino is the man. Want Willock to stay fit this season. Willock is such a good player, man. Such a good player. He's just been so unlucky with injuries. You know what I mean? I think when he's fit, Willock, he's got that quality. I love that deceptive pace that he has. And people even now still don't think he's going to get by them. He just turns on the burners out of nowhere and leaves them for dead. And he's such a good player and a good lad. And I really, really want Willock to stay fit this season and score goals and create goals as well, because we all know he's got it in him. He's got it in his locker. Jack's saying that Murphy should be the backup decent right winger and Miggy should have been cashed in last summer. There's absolutely no doubt about that at all. Yeah, Marcus, you're right. Willock is smooth. Very, very smooth. We've got Jay Toon is saying, would love to see Gonzalez come in for the right wing, which is still an area of concern for me, but I'm sure we'll get some of the quality in the next few days. Well, let's get into the transfer talking, guys, because it is dominating the Newcastle United stories at the minute. So it looks like Newcastle have had a couple of bids knocked back for Mark Gahey, and I think they're going to go back with a nearly 60 million quid bid, which I think will probably be accepted. The rumour is that Palace are looking for 70 million quid, but I don't think they'll get 70. The chance in their arm, I think they'll probably buckle on 60. And Mark Gahey will probably be a Newcastle player, I would say, before the Southampton game. But I don't think he'll come in for the Southampton game because Eddie will want to bet him in. You want to, get him around the lads and train and stuff. The only reason he will come in, I think, is if Fabian Schär has a bad injury. If Schär shakes off that injury, that's hard to say after a few pints, isn't it? Schär shakes off that injury, but Sean Connery, Schär shakes. So if Schär shakes off that injury, he'll get back on track. Then he'll start, and if he doesn't, maybe Gahey will have a chance if he comes in. But right winger is the next position, and I think that is something that we really should have addressed a lot sooner than this. I just feel like, again, we're leaving it to the last minute. I think there's kind of permeating factors in this as well. I think that the issue, I think, with obviously the Gordon talk, which hopefully was just bullshit anyway. Nobody really coming in with a realistic bid for Miggy Almirón. He was away to Copa America anyway. I think the Saudi teams were interested, but they weren't. I think they weren't even in a position where their window was open to sign players. Obviously Murphy doing well in pre-season, and maybe just the players that we're looking for not quite right for the football club, not quite right for Eddie Howe, not quite right for Mitchell. But we're in a situation now where we're staring down the barrel of the last few days before the season starts, and if they're going to get a right winger is the player to bring in after Gahey, obviously. And I think Madueke is the name that everyone keeps linking to us at the minute. So you've got Alanga at Nottingham Forest has been linked. We've got Madueke. Even Jared Bowen has been thrown out there in terms of just a totally out of left field or right field in this instance, name to be thrown out there. I don't think there's a chance in hell we sign Jared Bowen because West Ham would want 100 million from. I love Jared Bowen. I think he's a brilliant player. He would fit into this team. He'd fit into Eddie's philosophy. He'd get your goals, he'd get your assists, and I think he's a fantastic footballer. But I don't think that we'll get him this window because West Ham will want 100 million quid from him. If they sold Rice for 100, they'd want 100 for Jared Bowen. And he's settled there. His missus is Dia's daughter. He's settled in London. I don't think he'll be pushing for a move either. So I think the Jared Bowen thing is a little bit pie in the sky. But the other player who keeps coming a bit is Madueke. Now, we did a rumour has it of Madueke. There's no doubt the lad's got quality, right? He's got pace, he's got skill. He can cut inside and finish. He can create. I think the one thing that put a lot of people off Madueke, including myself, is the attitude question. Now, we saw the penalty situation with Chelsea when he tried to take the ball off Cole Palmer and he just come across like a total bell end, and you thought, that's not really the type of players that we want in a football club. The no dickhead policy that everyone talks about. The reason that Eddie Howe has managed to get this squad performing way above the level that anyone thought we were going to. And I'm not talking about Isaac and Bruno and players. I'm talking about your Murphys, your Longstaffs, even your Miggies, Joe Linton as well, when everybody wrote him off, myself included back in the day. But Madueke could be a threat to that harmony in the team if he is an arsehole. But the rumours that I'm seeing is that Newcastle, and this makes perfect sense to me, Newcastle are looking to do a loan deal and then buy him further down the line like they did with Lewis Hall. But Chelsea are open to that because obviously we did it with Lewis Hall. Now, Madueke's played more games for Chelsea, I think, than Lewis Hall was going to play when we got him. But that Lewis Hall deal was kind of out of the blue as well because everyone thought he was just going to slowly be bled into the Chelsea team as the left back. And they went and signed Cucurella for God knows what reason, even though he's just won European Championships, but never mind. So going back to that question about Madueke, for me, if you're going to bring him in, the loan deal is the best way to do it because if he is an arsehole, we'll find that out very, very quickly. And if he is an arsehole, we won't want to sign him for the long term and then he'll be away. So this is something that could work for Newcastle United. And also, if we're having to spend 60 million quid on Mark Gahey as the right-sided centre half that we're after, the money will be tight. So I just think that that's not going to happen in terms of that big money signing. Pedro Neto was a player we were linked to who got to fucking Chelsea. That's I think that's the 35th signing under Ted Bolley, which is unbelievable. Where's the Premier League with the PSR rules for them lot? They just sell a hotel back to themselves. I mean, fucking hell, it's one rule for them and one rule for everybody else, isn't it? It makes me sick. It really does. It pisses me right off that Chelsea and Man United can just flaunt the fucking rules of financial fair play where everyone else gets done over. It really pisses me off. But going back to the point in question, they'll have to get players off the wage bill, Chelsea as well. And Madueke will be one of them as well. So maybe there could be a lot in there, with that particular move. Darren saying, still think we need two right wingers. Love Murphy, but I only see him as a squad player. Now, Murphy's a utility player as well, Darren. He can fill in, at right back as well. And he works his arse off. He really does. And he's a lovely lad. He's got that likability. He's took his goal as well in pre-season. But Murphy will always blow hot and cold. He'll have these little hot streaks. And everyone goes, oh, Murphy's here, juicy. And then he'll disappear, for about 7 or 8, 10 games in a row. And, the things he was doing the week before, he won't be able to do at all, in the next few weeks. And you think, what the hell's going on there? It's called inconsistency. And that's why Jacob Murphy is Jacob Murphy, to be fair to him. Lovely lad, good squad player, but he's not going to turn games around for you and win your trophies or get your Champions League. Neither is Sean Longstaff either. Neither is Dan Burn. These are good squad players that the squad needs. There's no doubt about it. We need those players. Now, the Sean Longstaff one's an interesting one because there was talk about him moving on, and he's 100% profit because he's a youth academy graduate, a bit like Elliot Anderson was. But Sean Longstaff is one of Eddie Howe's favourite players, and one of his most trusted players. And there's no doubt in my mind, I think Sean Longstaff will be here at least for this season, as will Dan Burn. Miggy Almirón, by looks of it, will not be because he's being linked to Charlotte over. Is it Charlottesville or Charlotte over in the MLS? And we've got a few American fans in the chat. So you let me know what Charlotte like. I only remember the Hardy Boys coming from Charlotte, North Carolina, wasn't it? I think it is. But Miggy Almirón was big in the MLS and looks like he's going to go back there. And it makes me laugh because it's doing the round like Miggy Almirón. It always kind of starts a topic of conversation, within the football year. Thank you, Roger. Charlotte FC. There we go, mate. I was going to get there in the end. Yeah. Too many Charlottes in my head. Good Charlottes. Didn't. Right. So going back to Miggy Almirón, he always creates this kind of topic of debate within the fan base. And again, he's a smiley lad. He's a lovely lad. He's got a real warmth and positivity about him, a likability about him as Miggy. If you stop him in the street, he'd probably smile at you and, be really nice. And you go, what a lovely fella, but the top and bottom of it is that this football club wants to evolve into a football club that wins trophies and qualifies for Champions Leagues every season. Miggy Almirón is not the player who's going to get you there. He's not going to get you there. So you need to upgrade on a player. And Newcastle have upgraded on better players than Miggy Almirón in the years gone by, and nobody got as upset about them as this particular one. I don't condone abusing the player, on either directly to him or on social media, because he has done some good things for Newcastle United, but Newcastle need to evolve away from players like Miggy Almirón, because he's not delivering on the pitch. His statistics back that up. Look at you, use your fucking eyes. And he doesn't influence games the way he should do. And like I said to you, the fact that the MLS are the only teams who are coming in from shows you the level that he's at. We signed him and he was a workhorse. He ran all day and popped up with a couple of good goals here and there. Eddie got the best out of him, the best he'll ever have in his career. We should have flogged him then, because the top European club might have took him, in 25, 30 million quid deal. And Miggy might have had a chance to play, in a big European league, but now he's going to go back to America, and that might suit him better. And he might be a superstar over there again. But yeah, we need to bring in a quality right winger to replace him. And if it's Madueke, then fine, do it on loan. So we'll see what he's like. If it's a Langa, maybe you can buy him outright for a less of a deal. If it's a big player, I'd still love us to pull an Mbembo out of our arse or something like that, because that guy would take us up a level. He scores goals, he assists, he can play up front as well. That's the kind of player we should be going after. If we can drop 100 million quid on two players, 60 on Gay and 40 on Mbembo, then fucking let's do that, because them two are brilliant players. I'm laughing at Ian loading up his Charlotte here. Charlotte Church, there was always something about her, that little glint in that eye, always something about her, I tell you what. And Charlotte Hawkins, my mate's a big fan of Charlotte Hawkins. He often texts me when she's on the TV. I won't repeat what he texts me, because we'll probably get banned from YouTube. But yes, Charlotte Hawkins as well. Any other good Charlottes? Anyone else? But obviously, apart from Charlotte, a true faith, who's lovely as well, by the way, and a really nice girl. But I don't know of any other good Charlottes. Give me some Charlottes in the comments, guys. Don't say the fucking spider, because that was tragic. We don't need anybody crying this time of night. Come on, people are going to go to bed soon. You don't want them being upset. A comment there from Darren again saying that, yeah, agree, Miggy, MLS all around. We get 10 million, absolutely take it. Yeah, 100%. Ian says he'd take Weiser at Brentford. He's a good player as well, to be fair. He really, really is. They've got some good players, Brentford. I knew somebody would mention the spider. Come on, Terrific. Don't make everybody cry, man. Crying my bloody eyes out over that. Jimmy says, yeah, he would take Chiesa. I would take Chiesa, but everyone seems to be really sketchy about his injuries. I still think he's a brilliant player. If you can get him for, 20 million euro or something, 18 million quid, that's a fucking bargain. But I just don't think we're going to have it. There was also links to Ferran Torres as well, who would be a great player. Can play up front, can play out wide. Obviously, ex-City player over at Barcelona. Barcelona shell players as well. I think we were after Rafinha apparently as well, but he wasn't interested in coming. Fuck him, I say. If he's not interested in coming to Newcastle, then fuck him. Off he goes. The comment there from Jimmy saying pan-fried sea bass and sauté Charlottes. Very good. Very, very good. And Marcus and Chris, you are definitely the most silver-tongued Geordie I know. Well, you haven't met that many of them, mate. I tell you, there's some real silver-tongued Geordies out there. I tell you what. And Deck for one, mate. And Deck for one. True Geordie as well. He's a good lad as well. He watches us sometimes. He's a top bloke. He's gave us some big support on the channel and a funny guy as well. So there's another silver-tongued Geordie as well. And Jimmy Neal. Lee is saying that, Len, I beg your pardon. Get me glasses checked, Len. Sorry about that. But Awake is trouble, yeah. I'm not really sure about that. The attitude does worry me. It really does concern me that if he's just an arsehole, then it's going to upset the harmony of the team. But you'd like to think this leadership group that we have, like Bruno and Trips, Fabian Scher, Nick Pope's probably in there, Joe Linton. I think they would sniff out a guy like that quite quickly and say, fuck him, he's an arsehole. But you just don't know what's going to happen. Maybe Madueke is all right. I think the problem is Chelsea brings out the worst in people, brings out the worst in the players, brings out the worst in the management, the worst in the ownership. I think it's a real horrible club. When we got our money, there was one team I never wanted to be like, and that was Chelsea. I know people will say, they won trophies and everything else. But they're just a horrible club. There's a real toxicity and just vileness about that football club. The way they dispense of players and managers. I mean, is it Chalobah who's been there since he was 8 years old? They're just relegating him off to the reserves, and he's not even allowed to talk to the first team. And yeah, just there's something about Chelsea that just doesn't sit right with me at all. And I would never want Newcastle to turn into a horrible shithouse club like that. Not interested at all in that. Hopefully Newcastle can retain a bit of soul. Cue the nutters in the comments talk me about Saudi money, but hopefully Newcastle can retain a bit of their soul. With what we're doing there. Yeah, Roger, you're right. And Deck, 100%, mate. And Deck. I don't take any offense to that, Roger, either. I know you love me, mate, but I'm not beating them two lads. If it was, I'd be on ITV, have my own show. Mark would have to show up, though, but yeah, come on, Mark. I'm only joking. Love you to bits, mate. Love you to bits. So moving on to, but before we move on, just one last thing on the transfers, I suppose. Newcastle couldn't afford to have had a bad window. I think you're right, Darren, as well. I think the PSR is killing us, to be honest with you. We have to be so careful on deals because they're watching us so much. And you know what, Ian, I would go for Raheem Sterling. If we can get Raheem Sterling for a decent price, I think he'd be a sensational right winger. I really do. But I think the problem is with Newcastle, I just think we've just moved too slow. I just think we've moved too slow on everything in terms of transfers, and whether we've just waited too long for the right players, or whether there's been a disconnect between the board and the management, or whatever it may be. They're just having a chance to get around the table or anything like that. I just think that there's been a reason for a delay. I think the club should come out and explain those reasons. But yeah, for me, I just think that we have been a little bit asleep behind the wheel. And I just think that I hope it doesn't come back and bite us. If that team I pulled up before can stay fit for the majority of this season, then we will be in a good position come the end of the season. But that's a huge gamble, a huge gamble. Got a super chat in there from Roadblock. Thank you so much for your donation, Roadblock. Really appreciate it, mate. Hi, Chris. Love the channel. It's EM Buemo. Absolutely, yeah. He's a good player nonetheless, mate. Nonetheless, he's a fantastic player. But yeah, I just think for me, I would have wanted the club to have moved a bit quicker, a bit more decisively, pick their targets, been a bit more ruthless with moving players on. Even I've already agreed those deals before they went off to play for international tournaments. Something just doesn't sit right with me. We may never know. They may never tell us why. But to have signed, two kind of rank average goalkeepers, a championship striker, and I might turn out to be a good player. As I said that before, he looked all right at the weekend. But two kind of average goalkeepers, Ruddy, I mean, fucking hell, might as well sign Mark. He's probably a better keeper than Ruddy, to be fair. He's got more injuries, unfortunately, does Mark, bless him. But yeah, you got Ruddy, you got, Vlachodimos, you got Sela. I mean, they're not huge names that jump off the page and excite you. There's been some youth academy signings, yeah, which is great, building for the future. But I just think that they should have really built for the now Newcastle, and I'd like to know what the delay was. I really, really would. Comment there from Felks one saying, "Hope you're well, Mark, especially." Thank you so much, Felks. I'll pass on to Mark. You'll probably watch the show back anyway. But yeah, fingers crossed. All is good with Mark as well, and yeah, he is good, guys. He's got a lot of stuff on at the minute that he just needs to sort out. To be fair, oh my word, Marcus, have you been on the drink tonight? What a gift that is! Marcus has gifted 50 Evermore memberships. Oh my days! Congratulations to all you guys who have got Evermore memberships. And Marcus, what an act of generosity that is, buddy lad. We'll have to try and get you an Evermore mug or t-shirt or something for that, man. That's incredible. Well done, you, pal. Well done, you. So yeah, moving on to the last stage. the thanks are already covered in, Marcus. Roger is saying, absolutely unbelievable, 100%. One more comment from Felks one. Felks one is saying he'd rather play trips right wing and go for Keys or Sterling. That's interesting. I'd probably play Tino right wing, folks, and then Trippier at right back. You're not mugs at all, Marcus. Honestly, if we could get the mugs out mass production, we'd send them out to all you guys. We did dabble with a little bit of merch. That was Mark's baby, but the stuff we were trying to do, there was just copyright flags up. I don't know how some of the channels get away with it. Well, I probably do, but I'm not going to say it. But unbelievable how they get away with some of it, because we couldn't get away with it. Mark's designing skills all down the pisser, unfortunately. But KK, what about me? Did you get a membership, mate? Did you? I don't know. You offered to play right wing. maybe you can play right wing. Maybe he's got a good right peg on him. But I am going to move on now to the last part of the show that we normally always cover, which is Out of Tune, where we talk about non-Newcastle related things. There's been quite a lot of stuff going on actually, in terms of other football things. Now, if you didn't see already, the Community Shield kicked off where Manchester United and Manchester City played. Obviously, Manchester City came out on top. I think it was penalties in the end, wasn't it? I think. But the big highlight of the game was this ridiculous notion from Onana that thankfully for the rest of the chase and pack in the Premier League, well, I say chase and pack, we finished above these wankers, but for the rest of the Premier League, it's nice to know that this keeper is still completely shit. Going into next season, I'm sure centre forwards around the league are lighting up with their eyes full of excitement watching this shit. So if you didn't see already, he tried to offer Erling Haaland, who probably happens to be the most ruthless striker in the world right now, alongside Alexander Isak. He tried to play mind games with him and point to a free shot almost to the corner of the net, as you can see there. To which point he had a wry smile off Haaland, who then stepped up and tucked it away in the far left corner because he didn't fall for that shit for Onana. But that man is a very, very strange guy. As Ricky says there, Haaland laughing in Onana's face was hilarious. It really, really was. But honestly, unbelievable. I couldn't believe he was doing it. He's just like thinking, "What are you doing, mate?" Like, of all the players in the world to do it to, you wouldn't do it to him because he's never going to fall for that. He really, really isn't. But unbelievable. Yeah, but there was some other, news with strikers and big name strikers as well. Harry Kane, if you didn't see already, Harry Kane was playing in a preseason tournament. I think that was his first action coming back from the European Championships, and he was playing against Spurs of all teams, to be fair. And I think Bayern Munich beat Spurs. It was 3-2 to win a preseason tournament. And Harry Kane was actually going to get the Lifter Trophy at Spurs Stadium, something he couldn't do as a Spurs player, despite scoring over 200 odd goals from him being their record goal scorer. But he had the captain's armband on, and he took the captain's armband off because he didn't want to lift a trophy at Spurs. Now, obviously, cue all the jokes about people saying, "No, well, he didn't do that anyway, did he, when he was a Spurs player?" But, my take on this is, to be fair, I actually had a different take on this. I thought that was quite respectful, to be fair. Ricky said Harry Kane's ridiculous. I see that point as well, I do. But I thought it was quite respectful of Harry Kane to do that, to be fair, because, if Alan Shearer had gone somewhere else, my God, that would have been horrible. Ruud Gullit could have done that. But if Alan Shearer had gone somewhere else and that same thing had happened, I'd like to think Shearer would have done the same thing as well, and he wouldn't have rubbed off facing him. But no, now compared to Big Al, he probably would have been running on the pitch, giving all that in his other strip, mind you. But I thought I was quite respectful of Harry Kane, and he got some good plaudits for him, but he also got the piss ripped out of him by other people, as you would imagine as well. And speaking of ripping the piss, if you hadn't seen already, we did cover this on the last show, that Steve McLaren has officially been announced as the new Jamaica manager. And as you can see, he's really getting into the spirit of things with his announcement by the Jamaican FA. He's only been there a couple of minutes, Stephen. He's already rocking the Rasta look, man. You know what I mean? He's enjoyed himself there. But obviously, Mark's editing skills in killer mode there as well, to be fair. But yeah, I don't know what's going to go on with that one, honestly. I can only envisage that falling out completely and Jamaica just being absolutely shit, as Ian says, gangster Steve. Where was the brolly? Yo, man, where's me brolly, man? I don't think you need a brolly over there, George, unless you want some shade, mind you, because it's fucking roasting. If you've ever been over that part of the world, my days, it's hot. But yeah, Steve McLaren over there, I can only envisage two things: sunburn for poor Steve, and probably losing his job when they don't qualify for whatever major tournament they're going for next. But good luck to you, Steve, nonetheless. But sometimes, you just got to keep going, haven't you? You just got to, keep trying to get jobs and keep doing well. And sometimes you can be absolutely shit at a job and still manage to get to the pinnacle of your profession. And that very thing happened in the Olympics, to step away from football altogether, if you hadn't seen already. So there was a breakdancing competition. Now, why breakdancing is in the Olympics is fucking beyond me. It really, really is, to be honest with you. But if you haven't seen already, Australia's entry for the Olympics was somebody called Dr. Ray Gunn. I think her name was Rachel Gunn. calls herself Dr. Raygun, 36 years old, a bit old for a breakdance. I think if I tried to do breakdance, I'd probably break something, I think, to be fair. And she managed to get 0 points breakdancing. You've probably all seen the performance, which was utterly fucking terrible. And as I've never seen such bad dancing in my life. And I used to work in Whitney Bay pubs for years. Exactly. Darren knows exactly where I'm going with this one. It was some of the worst moving I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, I think Steve Bruce possibly was the breakdancing coach. And that was to my, and as Roger says there, she got nil points. She got no points whatsoever, leading to Australia media going, "Oh my God, fucking terrible." Da, 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 da. And I must admit, she is now responsible for some of the best memes I've ever seen on the internet. And these were two of my favorites in particular, which was absolutely incredible. So this is the first one, if you haven't seen this already. So this is Dr. Raygun taking on Daniel LaRusso from The Karate Kid. A great 80s movies to anyone who remembers this movie back in the 80s. This was absolute fucking box office for me. This is where the internet wins with stuff like this. So I was pissing myself when I saw this one. And to make it even better as balance, there's her fighting Johnny from the Cobra Kai as well, as doing Daniel LaRusso's famous kick, which is almost an even better edit than the first one. So the internet has definitely won when it comes to Dr. Raygun. Absolutely sweep the leg, as George says there, and Roger's loving it. Wax on, wax off, says Ian there. But yeah, absolutely brilliant, hilarious. It really was. Honestly, it was incredible. Oh, how was the breaking? George has won the banter tonight. Well done, my friend. That is a great line. Yeah, puntastic line there to almost see the show out. We've got one more thing. I'm going to pull it back to football for this particular one. And if you hadn't seen already, Jose Mourinho is back in football, as we all know, after leaving Roma. Now, Jose has gone to Fenerbahce, and he won his first game against Adana Demirspor, where, funny enough, Alan St-Maximin set up Edin Dzeko to score the winner. But it wouldn't be Jose Mourinho had he not got booked 20 minutes into the game for arguing with the referee, which is just pure vintage Jose. Now, I'll put that into context. The Fenerbahce manager hadn't got booked in 2 years of being in the job. Prior to that, it took Jose 20 minutes. Now, Fenerbahce did play what people called negative football, didn't really have the ball, sat in part of the bus, then broke with Alan St-Maximin with a great pass to Dzeko and won at 1-0. And that seems to be vintage Mourinho as well. But, sometimes you just got to laugh at that kind of a thing, because Mourinho was great for that. As Ricky says there, Mourinho and Maxi, who knows, could be repeated soon. Starty55 said, "Evening, Chris. Just got in from mates. Glad I caught you live. Top man. Good to see you there, mate. Good to see you." Unfortunately, it's just me tonight. Mark will hopefully be back for next week's show. But yeah, that was corker for Mourinho to get booked there. That's right up there for me with the old bottle of water thing when he got up and shouted at the referee. That was hilarious. That one, if you remember that. If you haven't, go look at that on YouTube, because that was absolutely hilarious. But that's pretty much time for tonight, guys. Thank you so much to everybody who's jumped in the lives. It always helps this episode flow, especially when I'm on my own. So it's always good to bounce off you guys as well for a little bit of crack. The season is upon us, so we're back with, again, Southampton at St James's Park this Saturday. We will be doing a match preview for that in the coming days, so check that out. We'll talk about how we think the team's going to line up, how the game's going to go, and I will jump on and do a live post-match for you as well on Saturday after full time, and talk about the game, and hopefully talk about a Newcastle United victory, and hopefully there's some signings to enjoy as well in the next few days. But if this is the kind of thing you like, guys, smash subscribe, come and join us. We're pushing hopefully to that 9,000 subscriber mark, where I've got a belter prize to give away. I know it's here. It's actually back in the UK, and gives you a nice little clue as to where it's been. So it's all there ready, and I'll get it loaded for the 9K subscriber prize, guys. So smash that button, recommend us to family and friends if you haven't already. And we will be back with the match previews and the post-match, as I said, and hopefully some breaking transfer news as well, to be honest with you, because that's the kind of thing that we really want to see. Some nice comments there just to see us out. Thank you so much, guys, for that. Really, really appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. And yes, smash the like, George. Well said, mate. See, I forget this all the time. Mark sorted out, does he? And Mark normally reminds me for that, but George is thankfully on the cards tonight to help me for the likes. Yeah, smash the likes, guys. Subscribe. Have a belter evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you are. Keep it evermore, everybody. We'll be back soon. Take it easy, and let's hope Newcastle start the season off strong with a victory against Spurs at the weekend. We'll see you later. Cheers.